Warning. This program contains strong language, auditory violence, and mental nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to your uncensored home for all things Warcraft. With your hosts, Berzerker and Navox, this is Unshackled Fury. All right, you rage babies, we are back again and diving further into patch 8.2 with a new raid, a new cinematic, and races to world first glory. Welcome to episode 56 of the Unshackled Fury podcast, your uncensored home for all things Warcraft. I am your host, Berzerker, and with me, as always, is the Tyler Durden to my cubicle drone narrator. He is Navox. Welcome back again, sir.
Again, you got me. I have no idea what that is at all. None.
Oh, come on. You got to have at least one Fight Club quote just in the back somewhere.
Oh, that's Fight Club. You know, okay, so...
You're not your fucking khakis.
I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I've not seen Fight Club all the way through.
Did you ever read the book?
I never read the book.
Oh.
We started watching the movie, and I think we got as far as seeing somebody's bathroom, and then that was it. We're just like done. Like, this is gross.
Half the movie takes place in bathrooms, so that doesn't tell me much at all. Oh, you're hopeless.
Yeah, you know, it's a movie I want to see at some point, but yeah, I've not seen that movie.
Yeah, it's lost some of its relevance since the late 90s, but it's still, still an enjoyable movie. But other than us trying to dredge up great writing of eons ago, how have you been since the last time we were here? We had a holiday and some other things going on, so what's been keeping you busy?
Well, what's been keeping me busy is this new patch we got, 8.2. As soon as I got back from the Atlanta trip, I got into farming reputation so that we could get that flying. And let me tell you something. I think I reached my level of rep. I think I've reached my whole. Yeah, I was hating life with that rep grind. I know it, and I know it was less than what we did in Legion, but I don't know. I think Mechagon, Nadjatar was fine, but Mechagon really kind of pissed me off with all the hidden quests that you would come across while you're questing there, and you're like, how am I ever gonna get this much rep? And you look at general chat, guild chat. Oh well, you didn't do the Flugitafla. You didn't go do. You didn't go
crap.
talk to
I gotta
Smith.
turn that shit back on.
It's like, you didn't go talk to so and so. You gotta go turn over a rock, and if you turn over this rock, something pops up. Oh my god, I don't want to have to go and hunt and find and discover this shit. I just want these gnomes with little blue exclamation marks over their head. I want to click on them and I want to go, But
yeah.
I did manage to get my flying. It took me a week.
A whole week. Oh.
Total. It took me a whole week, and I was bitching and complaining the whole time. But it is, it's funny. I was like, I can't wait till I fly. I got flying and I logged out. I was done. I was like, that was it. I'm logging out till we raid. And I did.
Worst.
But no, it's a lot of fun, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in the show. Yeah. Other than doing the 8.2, the raid team went in on normal, and we actually did clear it out. We didn't clear it out one night. It took us 3 nights, and we finished. We got Azshara down, and outside of WoW, the wifey and I are watching Stranger Things. We're finally making our way through that, and it's a good series. I like the whole it's got this. We're only on season 2, and it's got a lot of cool, 80s nostalgia. That whole show is just perfect. It's like a cross between Goonies and Aliens, and I mean, any never-ending story. It's just got all of it. When you look at these kids, it's like, oh, I see why they casted these people. I mean,
turn around.
Exactly.
Just wait till you get to season 3. Oh my god.
I can't wait. Yeah, we're gonna start that tomorrow. And it was funny because we were just like, you know what? Let's pace ourselves. We'll pace ourselves. We'll watch an episode a night. Nope, we binged that thing in
that
like
noise.
2 days. I mean, we were done with it. So
That's right.
And leveling my rogue, I am doing that. I'm leveling up some other tunes now that I have flying. That is making the game a little bit more enjoyable for me. Not, being so focused on trying to gear out the neck, which is, that's just to me, it's not fun gameplay for me. But leveling up my alts and stuff like that, it's kind of relaxing. But other than that, how have you been? What have you been up to?
Well, it's another hot summer here, Northern California.
Yeah.
It's as we record here, it's almost 8 o'clock on Monday night, and it's still about 90 degrees outside, or damn near close to it. So it's doing its thing out there. It's great. But yeah, we do have a little bit of house keeping that I wanted to mention before I get into all of my stuff. Is that you and I are going to be taking a little summer vacation here. Not together, although I'm sure we would have a blast out on some sort of metal cruise. But
Absolutely.
We're going to be taking a little break here on the show. This will be our last episode until the week of August 18th. I've got some trips coming up, and we got some things going on. And to be quite honest, we're going to put our money where our mouth is, in the sense that, as you and I have talked about, sometimes you just need a little break. Sometimes you just kind of need to let the foot off the gas pedal just a touch to catch your breath and collect your thoughts. And so we're going to be taking a little break, a little summer break from the show. So hopefully you folks will come back and join us when we get back from that. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about by the time we get there, because God only knows what's going to come between now and then. And we'll talk a little bit about one of those things here a little bit later in the show. And one other thing that I wanted to mention is, for folks that are new to the show, appreciate you guys turning in to whatever this is that we do here, tuning in here. And I've seen some ratings and some other things going on through iTunes or Apple Podcasts or whatever the hell we're calling it now. So appreciate you guys weighing in on that and giving us little bumps and plugs and telling your friends about the show, because quite honestly, we don't have a budget for any kind of promotional material, so it's really just word of mouth that lets people know about the show, and us just being out there and being stupid, and people every once in a while catch it, go, who the hell are these two idiots? And they go, they got a podcast. So, anytime you guys give a friendly word, always appreciate it. And I know I've seen a little bit of that lately, so thank you all. As for me, the biggest highlights of the last couple weeks, one, getting into Azshara's Eternal Palace and doing some damage in there, which we're going to talk about in a minute. And two, finally getting in and completing my first real barbecue on my new smoker.
Yeah.
Got those ribs going. My spare ribs were just heaven.
They looked on point.
I got to say, for a first-time smoke, I was pretty impressed. I really thought I was going to fuck that up way worse, and I certainly learned some lessons. But man, now it's like a religion that I never knew I was a part of.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah. Now I'm looking at all kinds of rub recipes, and I get one of is it a stick burner? Is it? Is it a bullet smoker? Is it one of these? It's not a Komodo, but I always call it a Komodo. Like a green egg ceramic deal. I'm looking at all this stuff. I'm like, wow. So
yep.
Yeah,
the collection's gonna grow.
It's like I don't have time for more than one hobby, and WoW will suffer if I learn of anything else in the world. So it's a real problem. But yes, been messing around with 8.2. Got a lot going on with summer activities, so I haven't been able to unlock my flying just yet, but making steady progress on my reputation, and I'm having fun. It's fun. I always enjoy when new areas and new lands come out and people lose their shit and there's crazy stuff going on. So on that note, for this week, since this is going to be our last show for a little bit, we have plenty of things to talk about, so we are going to forego our usual rage segment this week. As you pointed out before we started recording, Nav, there's been plenty of rage going around the community lately.
Oh, yeah.
That frankly, we don't really need to add to that.
Nope.
We're going to talk about it, but we don't necessarily need to throw another log on that fire of our own.
No.
Since there's plenty to go around. So why don't we go ahead and dive in with, for us, as we've already talked about, the biggest thing going on since we came back and the patch has been out is we now have the new raid out, Azshara's Eternal Palace, which is a gigantic raid from my perspective. Like the space, it reminds me a lot of ICC. There's a lot of running around and going from boss to boss. There's one in particular, I think it's the underwater boss, that if you get killed, man, you got to run and you got to swim and you got to do this whole thing. And it's like, woo, you bring a snack and some water because you're going to need some breaks when you're hoofing it around this whole place. But so far, I have really enjoyed it. I think the fights are really fun. I can tell that it's going to be a bitch in Heroic, and God only knows what's going to happen on Mythic, because some of those fights, you can see the mechanics when you're on normal, and you're like, I see how this is going to be so much harder when the difficulty starts to ramp up. But we got through 7 of 9 bosses at this point, right? It's 9 bosses, I think. So we're banging away. I have a feeling my raid team will get through the last 2 while I'm on vacation this next week and out of town. So you know what? That's par for the course, and I'm fine with that. And then I'll bitch and complain because I won't get that 1 kill, and we'll already be on Heroic. I'll be like, I never got to go back, and they'll be like, shut up, Berzerker. And I'll be like, all right, cool. So, but I really enjoyed it. I think that the fights are fun. The mechanics are definitely varied. The underwater boss is not as bad as I think it could have been.
It really isn't. It's not that bad.
No. But I can see where if you have any problem with sort of spatial awareness, good fucking luck to you.
Oh yeah.
But you've gone through, you've cleared it. Give the folks your impression of this fine place.
It's definitely for me, I feel like it's a step up from doing Boda big time, because the fights, even though we just did them on normal, there was nothing too terrible about any of the encounters that we came through. And again, I know it's on normal only, but we actually did on Sunday.
Casual.
Well, we went through on Sunday and actually killed the first boss on Heroic, which that again wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad. It's actually got some fun aspects to that fight. Like if you're on the green side, you don't move, and if you're on the ice side, you have to keep moving because you get a little debuff bar, and the little debuff bar, whether or not you're moving or not. I like the aesthetic. I like the feel of being underwater. The Azshara fight is going to be something else on Heroic. That even on normal, that one's like wow. But I don't see it as being as hard, or I don't want to say hard, but it was hard. Like Jaina was hard. Azshara fight's not hard. It's just a lot of mechanics you have to keep in your mind. And
well, now I haven't done that one yet. So what's the kind of the get with that one? What's the
okay? So there are these runes in the room, and the runes on the ground, they are charged, and then as the fight progresses, you have to have people go over to them and charge them up with the Heart of Azeroth. Like your Heart of Azeroth charges them up, but by charging them up, you take a debuff. So everybody in the raid gets to go over and take turns charging up these little runes on the ground. And at the start of the fight, there's these 2 Nagas. It's a Naga couple. They come out, and you are fighting it's like a husband-wife team, and at certain points of the fight, they hate each other, and then they love each other, and then it's like there are these 2 things. The buffs are called longing, and
does Chuck Woolery show up at some point, or Maury Povich, or some others?
Maury shows up. You are not the father.
Some other relationship expert.
Yeah, but after you kill the ads, Azshara shows up, and then you you beat on her a little bit, and more ads come out. And it's just a matter of it's controlling. It's just a fun fight. The encounters, it's a lot of fun encounters with it. It's definitely a fight that's better done in the earlier part of the raid versus the end part of the raid, because when we were trucking through again, we got to the last boss and it was already late. It was getting up there like 11 o'clock and I was already tired, so I'm just like, oh god, I got another 15 minutes of this, and it's just like, well, I'll fumble my way through this one. But there's a lot of fun encounters in it. There's the Barracuda fight, which is underwater, where you have to he sits in a cave and then he goes to different parts of the map and you have to swim through jellyfish, and the whole premise of going to the raid's actually kind of fun, because you're flushed down the drain and get to the raid instance. And
yeah, moving back and forth between those platforms when you're not always entirely sure when you're over open water is very treacherous, I've noticed, for people.
The way you're moving underwater there though is the same way we did it in Kata with the underwater zone, Vashir, right? Is that right? Was I right with that? Yeah. Yay. Good, I got it right.
Boy, I'll tell you, there are a few things in the game that are as divisive as your opinions on that zone. Either people really love it, or man, they fucking hate that place with the burning passion of hell.
I'm one of those strange people that I do like Vashir. It's not that bad. I think it just comes from, like, again, I say, you do Vashir in the summertime when you're like, oh, I'm under the water. It's cool. I'm feeling it. It's not like 90 degrees outside. It's not that bad. And the snorks are going to come out, and it's going to be great. And then you get to
the
Azshara's
snorks.
raid.
There's probably 4 people that listen to this show that know what a fucking snork is.
And then you get flushed like Nemo into a riptide down to Azshara's Sexy Time Palace of Fun down there, and it's great.
Yeah.
So
well, now just getting to the raid, I've noticed, is an issue, because I apparently have not gotten to the point where I can even get into the raid. I have to be summoned into the raid because I have not gotten 3,000 rep with my bodyguards yet. Is that the point of unlock, or at least that's what I was told?
Yeah, you get your bodyguards unlocked, and then once you get rank 3 on all your bodyguards, it unlocks another part of the quest, and then you do that part of the quest, and it's all tied to the Jaina quest line there. She has that to be continued, and that's what happens when you get rank 3 on all your things, on all your followers, and then you finish up the raid.
Rank 3 on all of them?
I think that happened with me. Like I got rank 3 on one, and then I got rank 3 on another one, and then the last one I got rank 3.
I'm trying to do like rank 6 so I can get all the stuff.
No. Just go to rank 3 on all 3 of them. Yeah, and then you could just take whoever you want. Like I like the warrior. I like keeping the warrior on me. He's pretty cool. Jeez. But then you unlock the quests, and you unlock the next part of the campaign, and that takes you up to the entrance of the raid, and then you get a quest to kill all the mobs in the zone. And what's nice about it is if you can fly, it does make things a lot easier. I do understand where people get frustrated with Azshara, because I was going through with it with the X and Y axis of up and down, and trying to figure out how to just maneuver around the zone, because it is a little frustrating when you don't know, well, I see the mob on the map. Is it 2 levels down for me, or is it 1 level up from me? Is it, it's a little silly, but once you can fly, it does make things a little bit easier, especially when you fly to the palace. You see, like, there's guards all around. Like if you were just to walk up there, I think you'd probably get one shot. But like I fly out there, fly into the water, and then it does this cool little animation where, you go down in the water, it sucks you down in, and then spits you back out at the entrance of the palace. And there's a summoning stone there. It's pretty cool. And I think the raid's a pretty nice. It's a nice zone. It's not
a beautiful
bad zone.
Raid.
It is a beautiful raid. It really is. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it matches the sort of beauty and menace of Queen Azshara, right? That's kind
absolutely.
of her whole vibe. And it's funny because I don't know why, but I'm also sort of getting this Serpent Shrine cavern sort of vibe out of that place. I don't know if it's the swimming. I don't know if it's just being on platforms over water. I feel like I got to bust out a fishing pole and start fishing up bosses. But I thought that place so far has been pretty well designed. Not too confusing to get around. Things make sense, but it's also it's big. It feels very grand, right? And that's what you want this to feel like. This is Queen Azshara, for God's sake. This is somebody who has been part of Warcraft lore since there's been Warcraft lore. This is a big fucking deal that we're even seeing this character live, been part of a raid. I mean, God, we've been thinking about Azshara raids since time immemorial, and now here we are. We're finally fighting her.
Looks different, but yeah.
Yeah. And when we do fight her, then what happens? Well, we got ourselves a cinematic that seems to have kind of confused people. I don't know. We're the reviews on this one have not been so ecstatic as perhaps some of the other ones, and to sort of paraphrase a saying from one of my favorite movies, Mad Max Fury Road, Azshara lives, Azshara dies, Azshara lives again. It's kind of the vibe I'm getting out of this, because we are jumping into spoiler territory at this point, so if you haven't completed the raid and you haven't seen the cinematic, you probably want to fast forward a bit. Figured we're going to jump into this week since we're going to be taking a little bit of time off, so if you haven't seen it yet, you want to save yourself, now's the time. Fast forward. I can't say how long because we haven't recorded the show yet, so I don't know how long it'll take, but just keep going. But if you want, here we go. We're going to talk about it now.
Yay.
So Azshara is defeated. We defeat her in the fight. And Jaina, and if I'm saying this correctly, great. If I'm not, someone can correct me. Lorthamar Theron. I don't know, the Blood Elf King.
The Blood Elf King.
You know, who's I guess done cosplaying a pirate down in Booty Bay and decided to show up and do something.
It actually, that quest line, which is part of, okay, so I'm gonna give it some props, because the quest line you get after you do your rank 3 and you're trying to open up the raid.
Yeah.
You have the Horde and the Alliance, and you've got Greymane and oh God, say his name again. Lorthamar
Theron. Blood Elf dude.
Blood Elf dude.
King Blood Elf.
The dialogue between the two of them going back and forth is just perfect. Like I love the bantering, the going back and forth with each other. They're like, oh, you know, you're not so bad. It's like it's almost like the Princess Bride dialogue where he's like, you know, good job, Wesley. You know, I'll kill you in the morning. Things like, you know, it's just the you know the knifing each other, the little jabs, but they're like they respect one another, and it's definitely a fun quest storyline to go through. So that also kind of leads up to, you know, the other cinematic that we got with Jaina, and should we talk about that or no?
Which one?
The Thrall and Jaina, and did you see
when they saved Bane?
Yes.
Yeah, we talked about that last time.
Oh, okay, all right. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting foggy brain. So it kind of goes along with the whole Horde and Alliance working
CTE
together.
is real, folks.
So at the end of, that's why we're taking a break. So so at the end of the raid, which getting back on track. So it was kind of weird because Jaina and he are in the fight, but they're not actually doing anything, but they're there at the end.
Typical NPCs, lazy bastards.
Right. And then we got a I'm going to keep throwing back to this. We got a Stranger Things ending with Azshara. Like seriously, like we killed it, and then she gets sucked out, and then it's like, whoa, okay, so now we hear N'Zoth. And it's like, oh God! And then you did want the Stranger Things thing, the logo to show up, like right there. It's like, oh, okay, great, more to come. It was odd. It was just,
well,
okay.
It certainly wasn't as definitive as I think we've all been led to believe that it was, and because they do a pretty good job nowadays of keeping these things under wraps until right when they go live or right before they go live.
Yeah,
and we see where Azshara essentially dies. It's reminiscent of the Warbringer short where she's like running out of breath and then she collapses, and then you see this machine behind her. It goes off, the chains break, the Titan construct essentially falls apart, and N'Zoth is let free or unchained, or pick your phrase there. And then, boom, shadowy tendril picks her up, boom, hits her with the, I don't know, gift of life. She's alive and looks genuinely shocked or afraid or like, oh shit, or something. Down she goes. You hear, I think, all eyes will be opened, something to that effect from N'Zoth, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay then. So I read that as N'Zoth is now free, and that now will set up the next series of events. But it really didn't tell us very much.
Well, I also feel like the fight itself, that the Azshara fight itself told us a lot about what's going on. And I kind of feel that our hearts that we're powering up, that are making us really powerful, I think it's a double-edged sword right there. I actually feel like maybe these things that we're powering up aren't exactly all that great. And
yeah, that seems to be the shared sentiment that's going around.
Yeah,
in conjunction with the sort of quotes, the mysterious whispers and all the various things that we've seen,
right,
is that Magni's a puppet that doesn't really understand what's going on, that we're the architects of our own doom is seemingly the path that we're on here. So yeah, and it's also interesting that the Heart of Azeroth somehow works in conjunction with the mechanic of the fight. I know that's the way that it's supposed to be, but that's probably not good. So I think it's safe to say that you and I, when talking about this, we were a little underwhelmed with the
absolutely.
ending of this, because right now it's not immediately obvious what happens from here, because we've got sort of two parallel tracks for the most part. One, Horde and Alliance, Ando and Sylvanas. What's going on with that? How is that being resolved? We've put things on pause while we fight Azshara, but now what? Because Azshara is, I don't know, somewhere out there, but N'Zoth is freed, and so that's kind of the other track, is Old God shit, which it's an Old God expansion. Did you know that?
The Old God.
I heard this wasn't an Old God expansion, but there he is. So you've got these two tracks, but which one are we on in terms of what's driving the story now? Is it that we are all going to suddenly forget about everything that's happened to fight N'Zoth? Is it part of something larger? Because one of the things that I keep coming back to when I think about this is we're so programmed, for the most part, those of us that have, I think, played the game longer, for the story to be self-contained within each expansion, right?
Yeah.
The Burning Crusade, we took care of Illidan and all the people in Outland. Lich King, we took care of the Lich King and all the forces in Northrend. Pandaria, we wrapped up Siege of Orgrimmar and all that kind of stuff, but then it kind of started bleeding more into the future expansions, and then it really started to become more of chapters of a book as opposed to individual novels in and of themselves. And so what I'm starting to wonder is this now just a transition into the next expansion of the Black Empire stuff, versus we're just going to have, 8.25 and we'll deal with some Sylvanas stuff maybe, or some faction business stuff, and then 8.3 is N'Zoth and Old God and we'll rechain him or we'll do some shit. Or, like I said, is it that it's not going to be that cut and dry, that we're going to kind of just bleed into what the next expansion is? It isn't clear.
I actually do think it's going to bleed into the next expansion, and I think the next expansion is going to be so in Mechagon, Chromie shows up on the island of Mechagon, right? And she has this ability. She shows you an alternate version, an alternate reality of Mechagon that you have to go into to do some quests, and you can only do them when she's up, or you get this other, you can get this thing to make from Pascal, and Pascal will make the thing for you, the trans-dimensional fidget, and it'll take you into the alternate time. I almost wonder if because N'Zoth has yet to manifest himself. He hasn't shown himself. We just hear the voices. We haven't seen anything.
Well, we did see the big eye in the cinematic,
right? But other than that, we don't really get to see him. So I'm almost wondering if when we get an expansion, if it's just going to continue on this, part of me feels like we're not going to get any. This isn't going to come to fruition in 8.3. We're not going to have an answer to this. I have a feeling that he is going to be somebody will be chasing down into the next expansion, and maybe we'll see some sort of alternate Azeroth timeline thing, similar to like what you said with the Black Dragonflight, like what we saw in Wrath. We saw something similar, or I'm sorry, not End Time. End Time was the thing where you'd go in and you'd see the dead, where you'd see Deathwing impaled on the spire and stuff like that. You know, an alternate vision of Azeroth and things like that. I think that might be where we're headed to. But yeah, it's, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing what comes there, you know, in 8.3 and so on and so forth. This BlizzCon is going to be huge because it's an expansion release BlizzCon, so it's going to be lots of news and stuff like that for us. But yeah,
we certainly think so.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would make sense in terms of the timing. You know, is teasing something out there, and then, you know, the next, you know, so a year from now, so 2020, you know, maybe there's more. But I don't know. I'm starting to wonder a little bit about the timeline, considering that they're holding back all of their cards. Because here we are, it's July 15th. The raid's out, the patch is out, 8.2 is out, but we really don't have a sense of what's next. And typically we do by now have some idea of who the final boss is, or where this thing is leading to, or some heading for the story. And right now we don't have much. I'm sure we will soon. And like I said, by the time we come back from our little summer break, I have a feeling there'll be lots of stuff known by then. Yeah. But it's unusual in a way. So I wonder what it is that's causing them to hold it back, other than they're just trying to focus on this raid and this patch, and then don't want people to get too ahead of themselves and actually just enjoy this moment in time. But if you had to put a bet on something, you'd say, okay, here I'm putting my flag on the ground. That's my stake here. Where do you think the story heads next? Where is the next major stop that we're going?
Oh man. Well, you know, the speculation was that there's a scene with, you see the Thanos with the compass on the ship. Did you see that cinematic where there's the Thanos on the ship, and they're like, oh, you know, and something's guiding him somewhere. So wherever that is, I don't know if we're like you said, the Black Dragonflight or something like that. I don't, you know, something with dragons. Sure, I'm down for that. Absolutely.
When I said the Black Empire, what I meant is that's the old god empire that existed before the Titans showed up and kicked their asses.
Yeah.
So that's old, like way old.
But we're still, like, you know, people have been speculating Wrathion, and I think, you know, we might see some Wrathion stuff. I also feel like
Dragon Isles,
and exactly, and Talia, her story's still there. You know, her father's still the Lich King, so something has to come out of that. You don't. It's like, I forget what it's called, but like we were talking about it this evening. Lisa and I were talking about, you know, if there's a gun on the table in the room. Yes. So she was there. Something's gonna have to happen at some point, because you know. So final answer. Where are we going? I don't know. Final answer. Okay, so final answer. I do feel I'm still holding on to the fact that I feel like we're going to return to some story with the Lich King at some point. That's my answer. For that. I know I'm going to take default there, but
you're going way out. I mean, like patch 8.2.5. Like, are we going back to the Horde versus Alliance conflict? Or are we going N'Zoth?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we're going back to Horde versus Alliance at this point. I think we're going to go straight for N'Zoth. I think Sylvanas is going to split off from the Horde with her own faction at some point. That, or they're going to flip it around on us and say, oh, look, she knew all along, which I don't like those storylines, but okay, what
it's like whatever. A reverse Arthas.
Yeah, something like that.
She's gonna pull.
We're all the brainwashed crazy people powering up this neck to give it to N'Zoth, and she's like, "I told all you people."
Yeah,
I
tried to
for
be
that.
a good one.
Yeah, so.
Ain't nobody got
So
time
yeah, I
for
think
that.
we're actually, I think N'Zoth is it. I don't think we're going back to the Horde versus Alliance, especially after all the story of us breaking, helping Bane out and us, going down this path to try to help save Azshara. And, who knows? Is Azshara going to turn out to be this good thing? Or I don't know.
Yeah, we still have a dying planet somewhere.
Yeah, we still have a dying planet with a big sword in it.
Yeah. Now an old god's free. We haven't solved the Sylvanas
we really
problem.
Mess up everything we touch in this.
Things are pretty fucked up. I think we ought to just take the portal back to Outland, go hang out with Thrall on his farm, and just call it a day.
Yeah.
Sorry, Azeroth, we just done fucked you up too much. There's no going back. But yeah, it's hard to imagine that after you have Lorthamar and Jaina there, that there's not going to be a continued united effort and like, oh shit, old god is free, we got to do something. Like, I assume that they escape.
Well, you know what? I will say this. It was a little bit of a dick move for them not to put a portal up at the end of the raid. Like, you are stuck there. You have to hearth out.
Yeah.
Or if you have a mage, they can throw up a mage portal. There is nothing. Like, Jaina's there.
Yeah.
Blood Elf's there. Jaina's like, well, I'm good. See ya. It's like no portal, nothing. Like you're just leaving us down there.
That's right.
So,
because we're the strongest people alive, we can handle it.
That's right. Heroes. Yeah. That's right.
So speaking of strong people, we also have the races for World First. Will be starting for a couple of different avenues, we'll say, as we've had a little bit of drama. As we always like to discuss around here, with the race to World First and how that is being handled as far as the top rating guilds go.
Right.
And if you recall, last tier we had Method doing a live stream where they were actually doing the streaming as they were rating, which they hadn't done, nobody had done, because they didn't want to give away tactics and secrets and what they were doing, but they, said, hey, fuck it, we'll still be world first and show you our hand. And guess what? They did. But in that pursuit, they also had partnered with Red Bull previously. And as it turns out, Red Bull decided that they wanted to do their own Race to World First event. And so you've had this sort of competition between the two. Method came out and had a big post about their philosophy on the Race for World First, who that should belong to. Essentially, their claim is that that should be the community and Blizzard and not somebody like Red Bull who's going to monetize it and do these other things to it. And so you have sort of this battle for the soul of the Race to World First and who should own that content or stream that content or monetize that content. Pick whatever you want.
Right.
But that seems to be sort of the central debate. And you can go out and see the posts and the various press releases and what everybody's got to say in particular. But for you, Nav, I know you and I have both talked about this before coming on here, and we've looked at all these various posts and releases and all this stuff. Do you think that there is any legitimacy to what Method is saying? Do you think that there is a real concern there over how this is being handled by Red Bull or somebody else? And maybe more importantly, who do you think should own the Race to World First?
I don't really. This whole Race to World First thing is it was put on by the big guilds, Method, Limit, Exorcist, all these big guilds are putting on a show for us. They're all doing this. So it's basically a community run event.
Yeah.
Ultimately it'd be nice for Blizzard to actually do something, but Blizzard said there's no achievement. We've taken that achievement out of the game. This is entirely a community driven project. This is, on the community. I actually, I respect what SCO posted with the whole, we couldn't come to an agreement with Red Bull. you know, they want to put on the best stream possible for the fans of Warcraft. I think Red Bull's just doing it for Red Bull's doing it for the publicity, though. You know, it's like, I don't think anybody should really own it. I just think, you know, it's a community driven event. It's similar to the Wowhead party and things like that. Like, people are, you know, they chip in, and the combo for the Storm party, things like that. So it's, you know,
yeah, I guess to an extent, although I would say, where would I contribute to the method thing? Because as far as I know, they're running their own ship, right?
Yeah. So it's going to be a split stream. Like, you're going to have the Red Bull Twitch channel, and you're going to have Red Bull and Limit on their Twitch channel, and then you're going to have Method on a different Twitch channel. So
yeah.
It'll definitely be interesting, because last time we only got Method, and, you know, nobody knew what Limit was doing. You'd have to just constantly monitor logs all day, or go to Wowhead and watch the world first posts and hope, you know, you were there when, you know, a log got updated. And, you know, so it's, I don't know. It definitely makes for an interesting work week, because you're sitting there at work and you're like, oh, I wonder what's going on. I can't play. I'll you know, tune into the world first race. And
unless you're getting blocked by your employer. Right?
Yeah,
you have to
that's
get pulled
true.
up on your phone if you have a good enough signal, which I don't. But yeah, it's curious to me in looking at this. One, I think it's fine to have some healthy competition for events, because me, as somebody who's watching this stuff, I liken this to, and I'm going to use this analogy twice tonight, but I'm going to say it anyways. It's sort of like the old school Monday Night Wars with wrestling, right? Where competition, in my mind, is good, because I think ultimately you get a better product because people are vying for your attention.
Right.
And with Method, and we talked about this previously, is that, you know, they have their own gig going on. I know that they partnered with some other streamers or some other guilds that were also running, but it's the Method show. It's
right.
the Method show. I couldn't tell you or remember really any other guild or anyone else that was involved. It's their show. So with Red Bull coming in, I think it's good in the sense that I remember from the previous Race to World First stream, I never had any idea what was going on in terms of the schedule. I didn't know when anybody was doing anything. I remember I turned it on at one point thinking it was live, and I remember I was watching some guy, and I was like, this isn't really the Race for World. Who the fuck is this guy? He's saying a bunch of crazy shit, and what is happening here?
He's not even in the same raid zone.
Yeah, I was like, what? I was very confused, and I think that that's where something like and regardless of what you think about who owns it, having a more professional touch, to me, that's a good thing. And if you have somebody who has, here's the schedule, here's when you can tune in, because I couldn't find that last time, and you know, I'm not the most tech savvy person, but I know how to find a calendar, and I couldn't find one there. So maybe it was there and I totally missed it. If I did, fuck me then. But it was not immediately obvious, which it should have been. So I think that having the professional touch that Red Bull could possibly bring as a larger entity that can schedule these things, that might help kind of elevate everything collectively. So that's just on a technical viewer side. If I'm being completely honest, reading what Method had to say, it sounds a little bit like somebody who has been the only game in town doesn't want to give that up. And what part of the community is really involved here?
Yeah, it's the major raid groups that are involved.
It's the Method show, and that's fine. They're a huge guild, and they've got sponsors, and they're doing their own thing. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't have a stream or they shouldn't do any of this stuff, but it's a little disingenuous to say that it's an entirely community-driven thing, because I'm not part of it. You're not part of it. I mean, the average player, we're completely segregated from that. So it's community driven in the sense that it's players, but these are also you know, maybe they're not making millions of dollars, but they're professional players for our purposes. I mean, you know, they've got uniforms, for God's sake. That's my line. That's my line. If you're wearing a team shirt, you're elevated enough, and you know that's kind of where we are. So it feels a little half and half. And it really would be, to your point originally, it would be helpful if Blizzard just did take this over. But it sounds like their portion of esports is going to be dwindling. And so it's going to be left to outside entities to take control over this. And at the end of the day, people will have a choice. If they think that Red Bull's doing a good job, that it's well scheduled, well coordinated, easy to find, the presentation is good, they're putting up good production quality, the casters are good, all that kind of stuff. If Red Bull does that and people pick them, well, that kind of tells you what people are looking for. And it has nothing to do with the who, it has to do with the what. Or people could say, you know what? I only want to be loyal to the community-driven, if you want to call it that, method show, and fuck Red Bull and these bigwigs trying to come in and monetize something that's very special to us as players. Then don't watch the stream. Just watch the method one.
And there are people that are doing that too. They're like, I'm not tuning in. I'm boycotting Red Bull.
Yeah,
okay. Well,
and that's what
it's a
you want
shitty
to
drink,
do.
But
Do
sure, it's your priority. Yeah.
Well, don't show up to the stream because trust me, they are watching these numbers like hawks. They want to know down to every last device and login who did what, and they'll have that information. So part of the battle is it depends on what the community wants to do. The real community, all of us that are out here watching this stuff, not the people on the streams. It's the millions of others that are actually the ones that'll tune into this stuff, and that's how this will be decided. So hopefully a little healthy competition will raise everyone's game, and I think that would be good, because I think it's great we're having multiple streams, to be honest with you, because I love all this stuff, and I think we all do, and it generates the kind of competition that I think is healthy. That's good to say, I'm really rooting for Method, and we got Limit over here, and they're doing this thing, and you'll have people on both sides. Fuck those guys, we're the renegades, and we're the corporate people shills, or whatever. And I don't know. I think that there is some degree of that which can be healthy and good, and quite frankly, fun. It's fun to jump into that kind of stuff. Be like, yes, these guys won, these guys lost. That's why we watch sports, folks. So
that's right.
This is why we do it. So. Yeah, it'll be good. Race for World First kicks off tomorrow, I believe, the 16th. So you'll have streams going. You'll have 24/7 rating going on until Azshara's down. So mythic all day, all night. You can just hang out, grab some food, just chill, Twitch and chill. I don't know. Is that replacing Netflix and chill?
No, not at all. Because I mean, I think just Twitch and chill is just you sitting there in front of your computer.
Yeah, but isn't the whole conceit of Netflix and chill that you're not actually watching Netflix?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're just smashing. I wonder what it's like to be like an anchor on SportsCenter, knowing that there's thousands of people that have you on in the background while they're fucking, and have no idea, don't even care what you're talking about. It's got to be weird. I wonder if anybody does that. Listen, if you listen to this podcast, leave it on in the background and do it Leonardo DiCaprio style, and you're smashing away while listening to this. I'd love to hear about that. So feel free to email that show. I would love to know that this podcast has turned into some form of baby making music.
There we go. Now we're taking it back.
Yeah. Anyway, we're getting away from the real thing here. So yes, Race for World First. We have competing streams going on. Method and Red Bull will be running those. So check them out. Check the times. See if you can log on. And when we come back, I'm sure we'll wrap up and have some numbers for you and see kind of who came out on top. And that will be very interesting to see. One other battle that we've got going on, and we're talking about this mostly just because it's timely and it's literally been happening over the last 48 hours or so.
Yeah, it was a train wreck.
Yeah, it really.
Turn away.
Boy, oh, God Almighty! You talk about sort of the old school Monday Night Wars. This was like blood feud, WCW versus WWF, or any other one that you want to come up with. But
more like NES 8-bit wrestling, I think that's where we're headed.
Thumb wrestling. I don't know what you call this, but. We had Taliesin and Evitel, and Asmongold, who we've talked about on this show before, and who's a well-known Warcraft streamer, essentially going after each other on Twitch streams, and it's been like the weirdest type of Inception style programming. God, one really watching another, reacting to another, and people sniping back and forth on social media and going back and forth about, I mean, really it's all about nothing. But
yes, it was about nothing.
A lot of where this started was, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but my understanding is that Taliesin was doing just a stream, and he started talking about how individuals that are streamers or have a community of a kind of a certain proportion, that people that are the heads of those. So in this instance, he called out Asmongold as somebody who has a very large following and a large viewership. That and he cribbed the old Spider-Man quote, is that those folks that have great power in the sense that they lead these large viewerships also have great responsibility. So they are, held to a higher standard, I think was the point that he was trying to make, or that they should be in terms of what they say, because what they say will have a greater effect on the community at large. And whether he was right, whether he did this artfully or inartfully, at the moment that doesn't matter for our discussion. It just turned into this whole other ball of wax, as my grandfather used to say, where we had this video getting clipped, somebody posting it online, and then Asmongold is watching it and breaking it up and making his own comments, and then you have people in the community going after Taliesin and his wife, apparently, and people going back and forth with Asmongold, and it just turned into this whole thing where, from what I saw, it was Taliesin on Twitter just responding endlessly to people trying to argue with him about the point that he was making, whether it was, is it okay for people to be critical of other people on videos? Is it about responsibility of viewership? Can you enforce that kind of responsibility? I mean, it just fucking went haywire, man. And then Taliesin puts out this kind of apology video today. And I mean, rarely in my experience have we seen two high-profile streamers go at each other or respond to each other at the very least in this way. Like, I can't recall. I mean, this is like old school like rap album stuff where you would have dudes getting called out back and forth between songs and kind of going after each other in that sort of way, and I can't recall a time when we've seen anything quite like this. Have you?
I'm thinking back. No, not really. No, I back, I guess, you know what? I could say yes. Back in the day, you would have, oh man, what was his name? Athene. Athene used to, Athene would, get into it with some of, like Swifty had a group of, streamers that used to stream with him, and, there was a rogue there, and Athena and the Rogue would get into arguments with each other, and they'd snipe each other back and forth on stream, and then you have Soda popping, sniping back and forth with people. Back in the mop era, people would do that kind of stuff on Twitch all the time, and it would, that type of stuff pulls in views. You throw drama out there, people are going to look at it.
Yep.
Controversy
creates cash.
Exactly. And the problem with that, though, is that when you have one streamer watching, now I'm just saying, if you have one streamer watching another person's streamer and doing commentary on it, like Asmongold does that. Part of his stream, he does that. He will look at other people's streams and do commentary on it. It's part of his deal. The problem comes into play, though, when you've got other streamers trying to, upload videos to YouTube and things of that nature, and they're not actually looking at the original content. They're looking at a snipped Twitch clip of Random User 3 and Random User 4 that have clipped it from another Twitch stream, uploaded it to YouTube, and then suddenly that is trending more than the original content that the owner of the content has uploaded to YouTube.
Right.
And that's taking away a little bit of, revenue and things like that. I don't know how much money they get for these things, but it's probably quite substantial with the amount of views that, if you
Taliesin was claiming that Asmongold should be a millionaire or near millionaire.
I
have no idea.
I wouldn't put it past him at this point. I mean, you go out there and look at, if you go out there and look, he is usually the top streamer out there on Twitch. Like, he is usually one of the top streamers out there on Twitch. And, it's just a thing of, basically everybody knows who Asmon is. Everybody knows who Asmongold. Everybody knows who Taliesin is. I don't want to, I know Taliesin claims that he was a small, a smaller streamer. Sure, his stream's a little bit. His stream.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily what he was saying, because as he points out, he even said, and this is to your point about the clipped nature of that video, is that he had said before the video that Asmon was watching, I guess, was that he even says we're in the top 5% or top 5 of streamers. So he was saying how he is a larger streamer, but it's still smaller in comparison to the larger crowd that I guess Asmongold has. But I'm not going to necessarily parse apart their numbers. That's
right, and
for them to do.
They've picked this apart back and forth enough for everybody that we don't even have to pick it back and forth. But the question was, the whole with great power comes great responsibility. Sure, you can definitely say, hey, look, I don't want you guys going out there and harassing and things like that. But there's always going to be those trolls. There's always going to be those bad apples in a bunch. It's just like regular society. You can have a classroom full of kids, and you can say, hey, kids, all behave, and you're always going to have one kid that's just not going to behave, or something like that. And
yeah, I mean, it's part of it is context. And I think that's sort of the difficulty with a lot of these kinds of conversations, is it's context and it's nuance. Where is any one entity, whether it's a streamer, whether it's a personality of any kind, are they responsible for every single person's actions who view their content? No. I mean, that's
no.
Right. And I don't know that anybody is saying that outright, that you are responsible for every single one. The difference here, the nuance that I see in this argument, is that if you go out there and you are saying a constant stream of negative shit, or you're picking something apart, or even conversely, if you're being real positive about something, or you're pumping something up, and there is a reaction to that of a measurable amount, then I think that there is some responsibility there. Like if you go and flame something and you have a certain amount of pull out there, and then a whole bunch of people show up and start bombing on something, yeah, I think you can reasonably argue that the energy that was put out there did lead to something. Every single one
inciting some sort of chaos,
right?
Yeah.
Every single one, not every single one, but it would be disingenuous to say that there isn't some correlation there. The same with the other way around. If you were very positive about something and you're pumping something up, and there is this positive reaction from the community towards something, and you can see that in some measurable way, there's lots of interaction with the community, then there is credit to be taken there. And so that's what's hard about a lot of this, is that people just want to fight most of the time. And I have to say, I was very surprised that Taliesin just kept on fighting and going and going, and I'm like, dude, you gotta stop. Like at some point,
I wouldn't have. Like I didn't have the energy to watch it, but he replied to everything, every single tweet. He replied to it. I was like, wow.
Yeah, it was. Don't feed the trolls. I mean, it's one of the old. I said this to my son tonight. We were talking about something, and I'm like, dude, this is one of the oldest internet rules we have. Don't feed the trolls. And whether or not they're trolling you, if you feel that they're trolling you, don't feed them. Don't react. Don't respond. And at some point, you've said your piece. You're done, and move on. And I'm sure that they will bury the hatchet at some point, or some third party or intermediary will get in there and be like, "Listen, guys, we gotta, let's just bury the hatchet here. Let's agree just to stay out of each other's lanes, or do whatever, just for the sake of peace or whatever, or not. I don't know. Maybe like you said." maybe the controversy is good and they get some more clicks. I know I know you were kind of joking about it, but you and a couple of other people have mentioned that maybe they did it on purpose because they're just trying to do something. I don't know. I don't think so.
It would be something to watch. Like I would love to see like a octagon match of Twitch streamers going back and forth with each other.
Well, I mean, we've had some boxing matches in the past with some higher profile YouTube people, but I don't honestly think that any of these people are going to get into a ring. And,
no, I don't think
and if I recall, I did see one person tweet Taliesin and say, "Hey, you guys should have a boxing match." And he was like, "Dude, I will get fucking killed. Like, are you crazy?" So, and I believe that. Just with my extensive boxing background that I have. But they probably are in a similar weight class. It could be interesting.
Absolutely, yeah.
Anyway, it was an unfortunate side of the community popping up this week, but man, you could not get away from it with everybody having a comment.
Dude, I was surprised. I was like, whoa, okay, so this is a thing. And then Tally just kept going and going and going. I was like, oh my God. My God.
Yeah. So I think for us, and this is something I've always talked about on this show, is that, we try to be as honest as we can about things, but we also try to be fair about things. In the last episode, we talked about Asmongold and in very specific instances of talking about the in-store or the in-game store and the mounts and stuff like that, and our difference of opinion on that particular thing. And I quoted the tweets that were there. So, for us, I think, and for everybody else, it's important to keep those things in context and to find, the evidence that you're actually pointing to when you want to have these kinds of discussions, because you should be ready to argue both sides, in terms of wherever you fall on something. And at the end of the day, trying to be constructive is something that I think we all should try to keep in mind. I know that's why I bring up stuff on here, is because I think that there are topics that are important to talk about, and us as, whatever size our community is, I want to bring something up and say, hey, here's something that's going on. We're going to put our stamp on it in this particular instance. I think that if you are somebody who has an audience, regardless of size, and I know they were talking about punching up or punching down or whatever it is, if you have an audience of any size, you are getting somebody's attention for some amount of time. And I think that you should be cognizant of the effect that you can have on somebody when you are on the air. And you can, you see pro athletes like, I'm not responsible for this kid's behavior. I'm not a role model. That is a very common phrase that I hear. But the fact is that people will look up to you and things will happen. And you have to decide how you want to navigate in that space. For us, we get ragey and we go nuts about some stuff every once in a while, and I'm sure that there are plenty of things that could be thrown back in my face. Hey, you said this thing, and then you did this thing. Yeah, you know what? I'm sure I'm guilty of that. I don't doubt it.
Fucking Justin Bieber hanging out with whatever, the was it Colin McGregor? Conor
McGregor
wanting to fight Tom Cruise out there on Twitter. I mean, come on,
do it, man. So I hope the cooler heads can prevail, but man, we couldn't get away from that this week. And, again, I encourage anyone who listens to this show, listen, here's the deal. We're all in this together. We're all trying to be a community that, we'll disagree at times, but I think we're all part of the same family. It's a fucked up, crazy family, but that's the
really
best
is.
kind. And, I really hate to see this kind of back and forth like this. So hopefully, like I said, cooler heads will prevail. But, for us and our community, don't attack anyone. Don't go crazy on anyone. We certainly are never going to advocate doing that kind of thing. So if you feel like, hey, I got to go tell somebody to, do this or that or the other thing, or I got to, make some kind of threat against them, please don't. Just don't. Just
think.
Just
think
walk
and
away.
Then filter. Think, filter, and then walk away.
Yeah, it's really not that important. And at the end of the day, we're just arguing on the internet, which is one of the dumbest activities I think that there is in the history of human existence. So don't get yourself caught up in it.
It is funny when you think about it. Like outside of it, it's like, if I didn't play WoW and I just didn't care,
imagine explaining this to your parents. They'd be like, "Who? What? Who is this?
Who? What?
What are they arguing about? This a video game? Oh. Well, why don't they just share a couple beers and call it a day? All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, All right. Well, I think we've meandered around this topic
Yeah.
long enough, and I think that will wrap it up for this episode. So, other than this fine little program here, Nav, where can the good people find you on the internet?
You can find me streaming out on Twitch. I'm at NAV_OX, and you can find me on Twitter, the same, NAV_OX.
As for me, you can always find me on Twitter at Berzerker Rage, and this show at unshackled_fury. Feel free to contact this show with your questions, comments, or otherwise at unshackledfuryshow@gmail.com. And you can find this show on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Google Play. So once again, thank you for listening. Remember to keep your swords wet and your banners high. And we'll see you next time. Farewell.